All right, let's dive in today. We're talking all about building a better workspace
Yeah.
and how that can lead to being more productive. And I am so excited about this because
Yeah.
I personally, I'm always looking for tips to be more productive. And we're going to be looking at an article from Redimedia, Creating the Stage for Productivity.
Yeah, this is such a great article.
It really is.
And, sometimes it's easy to overlook
Yeah,
the impact of our environment
Right.
on how we work
Right.
and how we feel and how we think.
absolutely. And so this article really gets into that and gives a lot of tips about
Yeah.
how to do that, how to make that happen for yourself. So yeah, like right off the bat, they talk about decluttering.
Yeah.
And I'm someone who thrives in organized chaos, but I know that there is a point where it's too much.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's actually a reason for that.
Really?
There was a study
Okay.
by Princeton that found that visual clutter actually competes for your attention,
Wow.
making it harder to process information and make decisions.
Mm-hmm. That makes total sense. I mean, you think about it, if you're trying to, write a report, but the TV is on,
Right.
like you're not going to be able to do it as well.
Exactly. It's like your brain just can't
Yeah.
focus.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's not just about being tidy. It's actually like
Right.
giving your brain a better chance to focus.
Exactly. It's about reducing distractions and allowing your brain to dedicate more energy
Right.
to whatever it is you're trying to focus on.
Right. And I also think that, you can have a clean space that isn't sterile, right? Like,
Absolutely. It doesn't have to be
yeah,
minimalist.
yeah, you just kind of,
It's about finding what works for you.
exactly. Now, the article also talks about having a dedicated workspace,
Mm-hmm.
which I think a lot of people working from home, especially, they're like, well, I work from my couch or I work from my bed or whatever. So do you really think it matters?
I think it does
Okay.
because our brains are very good at forming associations.
Oh, interesting.
So when you consistently use a specific space for work, your brain starts to link that location
Okay.
with focus and productivity.
Oh, I like that.
Like you can think about it like going to the gym.
Right.
You step into the gym and your brain knows
Like time to work out.
it's time to work out.
Right. It's like a trigger.
Exactly.
That's really interesting. So even if it's just a corner,
Yeah.
like if you don't have a full office.
Yeah, like a designated work zone
Yeah.
can really make a difference.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And kind of along the lines of things that can impact our focus, I really want to talk about lighting
Yes.
because I'm a big natural light person.
Right.
I love, having the sun
Yeah.
streaming in.
There's a reason for that.
Yeah.
There was a study in the Journal of Environmental Psychology,
Okay.
and they found that workers who were exposed to more natural light
Mm-hmm.
actually had higher job satisfaction
Really?
and fewer instances of eye strain and headaches.
That is really interesting.
Natural light really helps to regulate our circadian rhythms.
So it's not just about like bright or dim, it's like the quality of the light.
Exactly. And, the opposite is true, too. Like fluorescent lighting
Right.
can actually disrupt
Oh,
those rhythms,
Interesting.
leading to fatigue and difficulty concentrating.
So what do you recommend if someone can't get enough natural light? Like, are there certain types of light bulbs
Yes.
or?
Yeah, so there are light bulbs that mimic natural daylight,
Okay.
and they tend to have a higher color temperature.
Okay.
And you can actually measure this in kelvins.
Interesting.
And so you want to aim for bulbs with a color temperature around 5,000 K to 6,500 K.
Okay. So I'm writing this down 5,000 K.
Yes.
All right. Now let's talk about something that I think everyone struggles with.
Yeah.
And that is distractions.
Oh, the modern day
Yeah.
productivity killer.
Right. And even when we think we're good at multitasking,
Right.
our brains are actually just switching back and forth, and it's exhausting.
And that's where the concept of attention residue comes in.
Attention residue.
Yeah.
What is that?
So basically, it means that even after we've switched tasks, our minds kind of linger on that previous activity.
Oh, like it's still taking up space.
Yes.
That's so interesting. So give me an example.
So think about a time when you were trying to work, but your phone was buzzing next to you.
Oh, yeah.
Even if you didn't check it,
Yeah.
part of your attention was still focused
Oh, totally.
on that potential notification.
It's like you're waiting for it.
Right?
Yeah. Okay, so what can we do about this? Like, I feel like I'm constantly battling the urge to just check Instagram or,
Yeah, and so the first step is really just awareness,
Okay.
like recognizing your personal triggers.
Right.
Once you know what pulls you off track,
Yeah.
then you can start to implement some strategies.
Like what?
So for example, if social media is your kryptonite,
Right.
You could use a website blocker during work hours.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Or just simply putting your phone on silent and putting it out of sight.
Sometimes the simplest things
Right.
are the most effective.
They really are. It's about creating those barriers,
Yeah.
both physical and mental,
Right.
to allow yourself to truly focus.
Now, I also want to talk about personalizing our workspace.
Yes.
Because the article talked about how that can be good for productivity.
Absolutely.
So tell me more about that.
Well, our surroundings actually have a profound impact on our mood and mindset.
Okay.
So surrounding yourself with things that you find beautiful,
Hmm.
meaningful, inspiring can actually
Yeah.
create a more positive state,
Oh, interesting.
which can fuel your creativity and motivation.
So it's more than just having a space that's functional. It's like creating a space that you actually enjoy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Think about it. If you dread going into your workspace,
Right.
how productive are you going to be?
Not very.
Right. So if you can make it feel welcoming and inspiring,
Yeah.
you'll naturally feel more motivated to be there.
Yeah. Makes sense. This is making me want to redo my whole office. I
Mhm.
have ideas swirling.
Love it. So let's shift gears a bit
Okay.
and talk about the power of routines and boundaries.
Okay, now routines are something I have always struggled with, but I know that a lot of people really benefit from them.
Well, they can be incredibly powerful
Okay.
because routines create predictability,
Yeah.
and that reduces decision fatigue.
What is decision fatigue?
Decision fatigue is basically when you get tired of making decisions.
Oh, yeah.
And so it frees up mental energy that you can then channel into your work.
So instead of thinking what am I going to do next? It's oh, this is my routine. This is what I do next.
Exactly. It's like having that mental autopilot
Yeah.
for certain parts of your day.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. And then boundaries are also super important,
They're essential.
especially I think in today's world where everyone's always connected.
Yeah,
It's hard to disconnect
that is.
and set those boundaries. So tell me more about the importance of boundaries.
So boundaries protect your time and your energy.
Yeah.
So they help to prevent burnout and help you to maintain that healthy balance.
Right. So it's not just about working hard.
Mhm.
It's also about,
Working smart,
right.
protecting your well-being.
Yeah. And then the last thing I want to touch on in this section
Yes.
is ergonomics.
Ooh, ergonomics.
I'll admit I've been guilty of
Mm.
not thinking about this as much as I should, but I have learned the hard way that it makes a difference.
It is a vital aspect of productivity,
Okay.
and it's often overlooked.
Well, let's dive into that after a quick break.
Yes, let's do that.
Mm.
We'll be back soon to explore how the right setup can impact
Yeah.
your comfort, your focus, and your long-term health.
All right. We'll be right back. Okay. So before the break, we were talking about ergonomics.
Yes, ergonomics.
And I'm really curious to hear more about this because I've definitely had my share of aches and pains
Yeah.
from, sitting at a desk all day and not having things set up properly.
It's so important.
Yeah.
And, I think it's often overlooked
Yeah.
because people tend to focus more on the mental and emotional aspects
Right.
of productivity,
Right.
but the physical setup is just as crucial.
It's true. If you're not comfortable,
Right.
you're not going to be able to.
Exactly. You're not going to do your best work if you're
Yeah.
in pain.
Right. It's like if you tried to run a marathon in shoes that don't fit,
Right.
you're not going to get very far.
Exactly. So let's talk about some key elements
Yep.
of an ergonomic workspace.
Okay.
So first and foremost, your chair.
Oh, yeah.
You want a chair that provides good lumbar support.
Right.
That's going to prevent back pain.
I've heard that's super important.
It is. And adjustable height is also important.
Okay.
So you can make sure that your feet are flat on the floor
Right.
and your knees are at a 90-degree angle.
I will say, since investing in a good chair, I have noticed a difference.
Yeah, they're worth it.
Yeah, my back feels so much better at the end of
Yeah.
the day.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then there's your desk.
Okay.
So the height of your desk should be such that your elbows are bent at a 90-degree angle when you're typing.
Okay.
If your desk is too high or too low,
Yeah.
that can lead to strain on your wrists, shoulders, and neck.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And what about the monitor?
Yeah, your monitor should be positioned directly in front of you,
Okay.
about an arm's length away.
Okay.
And the top of the screen should be at or slightly below eye level,
Okay.
so you're not straining your neck.
That makes sense. I'm realizing there are so many things
Right.
that can kind of contribute to discomfort
Little things can make a big difference.
and ultimately affect how productive we are.
Yeah, exactly. So anything else, in terms of ergonomics,
Mm-hmm.
I would say Also, think about the positioning of your keyboard and mouse.
Okay.
They should be close enough that you don't have to reach.
Right.
And your wrist should be straight, not bent.
Yeah, that's a good point. And
Yeah.
there's like ergonomic keyboards
Right, ergonomic keyboards and mice.
that are supposed to help with that.
Exactly, and they can really make a difference.
And like already thinking about how I can rearrange my desk a little bit.
Even small tweaks can make a big difference.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny because earlier we were talking about personalization
Right.
and how that can actually be good for productivity.
Yes, it can.
So I'd love to hear a little bit more about that.
So it's about recognizing that your workspace isn't just a functional area.
Right.
It's really an extension of yourself.
Oh, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, so by infusing your workspace with elements that reflect your personality and your passions,
Yeah.
you create an environment that feels more engaging and inspiring.
It makes sense. Like if you're surrounded by things that you love
Right.
or things that inspire you,
It can really boost.
you're going to want to be in that space.
Exactly. And that could be anything,
Yeah.
from plants and artwork
Mhm.
to photos, books, even just a favorite mug.
Yeah. Yeah, it's about those little touches.
It's about making it feel like yours.
Right.
A space that energizes you and makes you feel happy and productive.
So it's not just about getting rid of distractions. It's like
Yeah.
adding in things that actually make you feel good.
Exactly. It's about creating a holistic workspace
Okay. Yeah.
that nourishes your mind and body.
Yeah. And all of this kind of ties back to, routines and boundaries, which we were talking about before. So I'm curious, like, what are some common pitfalls
Yeah.
that people fall into when they're trying to establish routines or set boundaries?
So I think one common mistake is trying to do too much too soon.
Oh, yeah.
When it comes to routines, start small.
Yeah.
Gradually build from there.
Like, don't try to change everything overnight.
Exactly. Focus on one or two new habits at a time.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think with boundaries, it can be really hard to say no.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
We live in a culture that glorifies busyness.
Right. And you want to be helpful,
Hmm.
but sometimes it's too much.
But sometimes saying yes to everything leads to burnout
Right.
and actually decreases your overall productivity.
And so it's not selfish to set those boundaries.
It's self-care.
Yeah.
It's about protecting your time and energy so you can be your best self.
And that kind of reminds me of what we were saying before about having that dedicated workspace.
Right.
Even if it's just a corner of a room.
It helps to create those boundaries.
Yeah. Because you step into that space and it's like, okay, it's work time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It signals to your brain, okay, this is work time.
Yeah. And then when you step away, you can actually disconnect.
Right. Exactly.
So it's all about finding that balance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like work-life balance, focus and rest, structure and flexibility.
It is. It's about finding what works for you.
This has been so eye-opening. I feel like I'm looking at productivity in a whole new way.
Yeah.
It's not just about getting things done.
It's about creating a lifestyle and environment that supports your best work.
And your best self.
Yes.
Before we wrap up this deep dive, though, I'd love to hear your final thoughts on, what are the key takeaways here?
Okay.
And how can our listeners apply these insights to their own lives? So I think, for me, the biggest takeaway is that productivity is not just about, like, willpower or working harder.
It's really about creating an environment that works with our brains,
Yeah.
not against them.
Right. And that's more than just having a clean desk or a fancy planner.
It's about understanding how things like lighting and ergonomics and even like personalization
Right.
can really impact our focus and energy.
Yeah. It's like all these different factors that come into play.
Absolutely.
So if someone's listening and they're feeling a little overwhelmed, like where do you recommend they start?
I would say start small. Don't try to change everything at once.
Yeah.
Pick one area that resonates with you.
Right.
Maybe it's decluttering or, experimenting with lighting or even just taking a few minutes each day to stretch.
Right.
It's about those small wins that kind of build that momentum.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
One thing that I thought was really interesting in the article was that they talked about viewing our workspace as a platform for self-expression.
Yes, I love that.
It's not just about getting things done. It's like creating a space that reflects you.
It reflects your personality, your values.
Yeah. And I think that can be so powerful.
It is. It's like instead of seeing your workspace as a place you have to be,
Right.
what if you saw it as a space you get to create?
Right. Yeah. It becomes more about opportunity than obligation.
Exactly.
Be there.
And I think that shift in mindset can really make a difference
Yeah.
in terms of motivation and creativity and productivity.
It's like you're making your workspace an ally
Yeah, exactly.
instead of an obstacle.
Exactly.
And that leads me to a thought-provoking question.
Oh, I love it.
For our listeners,
Okay.
what if, instead of striving for this perfectly optimized workspace,
Right.
we focused on creating a space that feels authentically ours?
Yes.
Like embracing the imperfections and the quirks and the things that make it personal.
It's about letting go of the pressure to be perfect.
Yeah.
And just embracing the joy of creating a space that reflects you.
I love that.
And, who knows, maybe in that process we'll discover new sources of inspiration
Right.
and unlock even greater levels of productivity.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a beautiful way to think about it.
I do too.
This has been so great. I feel like I've learned so much.
Me too.
And I'm really inspired to go spruce up my workspace.
I am too.
Well, huge thank you to Redimedia
Yes.
for the inspiration for this deep dive.
For the great article?
Be sure to check out their website
Yes, definitely.
for more great articles and tips.
Yes.
And to our listeners, thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, thank you.
We hope you learned something today and that you feel inspired to create your own productive and inspiring workspace.
Yes, absolutely.
Until next time, happy creating.